Good morning, everyone. I request all of you to be seated, please. Learning is like rowing upstream. Not to advance is to drop back. A very good morning to everybody present here. At the outset, we at Mahe Bengaluru campus would like to heartily welcome each one of you to belong in shaping tomorrow's education, a conclave of visionary principles. This conclave is an opportunity to be part of an educational movement that can shape the future of education. Through your participation and insights, we aim to foster excellence and set a precedence that has not been done in the past. Let's start this session by lighting the lamp and paying a tribute to our revered founder, late Dr. T.M.A. Pai, a pioneer in educational entrepreneurship. For this, I would like to call upon Mr. Shantanu Das, Principal Sarla Birla Academy, and Ms. Kalai Selvi, Head Vidyashib Academy, who are members of the Mahe Bengaluru Principals Advisory Board, our Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Madhu Veera Raghavan, Deputy Registrar, Dr. Raghavendra Prabhu, and Deputy Director Admissions, Mr. Gaurav Yadav. Thank you. We now look forward to the welcome note by Mr. Gaurav Yadav, Deputy Director Admissions. Sir, the dais is all yours.
A very good morning to all of you, and a very warm welcome to the Principal's Conclave 2023 at the vibrant Mahe Benagaluru campus. Our beloved Pro Vice Chancellor Professor Madhu Veera Raghavan, Deputy Registrar Dr. Raghavendra Prabhu, heads of the constituent institutes and departments. We have 10 of the institutes and departments here at Mahe Benagaluru. Few of them have been able to make it to the occasion today. Few of them, because of their preoccupied events and all, have not been able to make it. Heads of the supporting functions, esteemed faculty members, dedicated members of the admissions and marketing team, and all our distinguished colleagues, join me in welcoming the highly regarded principals and delegates from the reputed schools of Bangalore, who have graced us with their presence here today for a cause. We will be deliberating the cause in due course after the keynote address and a brief address by our leadership. And the reason why we have got you seated little apart from each other is not because of the COVID protocols. We have surpassed that pandemic. There is a reason why we have got you seated this. I hope you don't mind it. Because we are going to have the open house discussion in such a way that you would be able to speak from wherever you are seated. And we would like to have some spotlight done on the LED backdrop here. So this was a pre-requirement given to us by our audio-visual team, saying that until the spacing is done, we would not get to see your bright faces on the LED screen. So please bear with us. I think the seating arrangement is for a purpose which will be visible in due course of time. I extend my heartfelt welcome to all. It is a true honor and privilege to have such revered educators and leaders in the field of education amongst us today. We have a few of the principals who have already accepted our invite to be on the Mahe Benagaluru Principals Advisory Board. It is a vision set in by our Pro Vice Chancellor Professor Madhu. He realized that there is a gap between the schools and the universities, and some interfacing has to be done. So out of his vision, we reached out to a few schools, and we have not been able to reach out to many of you, so I'm sorry if your name is not there on the Mahe Principals Advisory Board for now. However, in due course of time, we will reach out to you as well. And we hope that you will be able to consider our request. Your presence here signifies a collective dedication to shaping the future of education and molding the minds of our youth. As principals, you hold the torch that illuminates the path of knowledge, guiding students towards a brighter and more enlightened future. Commitment to fostering excellence in education, dedication, passion for empowering the next generation, indeed unite us in nurturing creativity, promoting critical thinking, and instilling values that go into the fabric of our society. Throughout our time together, let us engage in fruitful discussions, exchange innovative ideas, and forge lasting connections. Let's aspire to create a network of support and inspiration, enriching our educational institutions and consequently the lives of our countless students. Once again, I offer a sincere and warm welcome to all the participants of this momentous gathering. To ensure that we make the most of our time together, I'm so sorry that we have delayed the commencement a bit. We were supposed to start by 10:30. We were waiting for few of you. I can understand that many of you were stuck in the traffic, and our location also is in such a way that I realize few of you reached our gate number 3, particularly Mithali ma'am was there at gate number 3, so we had to request our security people to assist her to redirect her to gate number 1. So there are certain reasons due to which some delay has happened, but we will try to cover that up as much as possible. And that is the reason why we are not going to take enough time to speak about each of you. You all have such profile that if I start speaking about each one of you, it is going to take another 1 hour. So we have put together, my team has brilliantly put together a video which is going to showcase all the members who are present here with us today, so that we are well aware of each of us who are gathered here today. So can I request the AV team to kindly play the video? Thank you. I think the audio team probably expected that I'm a good singer, but unfortunately I'm not, so I couldn't give the background music. So some of the delegates who were present in the presentation here are still on their way, and we look forward to their joining at the earliest for the next half an hour or so. So welcome, and let us embark on this journey of collaboration and enlightenment together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. I would now like to invite Dr. Raghavendra Prabhu, Deputy Registrar, Mahe, Benagaluru campus, to enlighten us on the legacy and eminence in education from Mahe's perspective.
Very good morning to all of you. It is my pleasure to be part of this first and much awaited Principal Conclave that is organized by Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Mahe, Benagaluru campus. So we started in the year 1953 with the first self-financed medical college of the country. So that also with a private public partnership, that is KMC Manipal. So now we have almost 45 institutions, around 35 institutions plus around 10 to 13 teaching departments, close to 28,000 students studying in Mahe, 3,200 plus faculty members, around close to 1,75,000 plus alumni. So this is just a brief description of Mahe till now. So Dr. T.M. Pai, the Padma Shri awardee Dr. T.M. Pai, so the man who conceived and created Manipal, our revered founder, late Dr. Thonse Madhavananda Pai, was a pioneer in educational entrepreneurship. His far-sighted vision and single-minded approach to the accomplishment of goals saw the birth of the first private medical education in Manipal, which led to a model emulated across the country even to this day. Actually, he had a vision of having a deemed to be university, but during his time, so that was not materialized. But his illustrious son, the Chancellor of Mahe, Dr. Ramdas Pai, so he took Manipal to overseas, as well as he made Manipal an international education township. So Dr. Pai continues to be a guiding light and inspiration for all of us. Our vision is clearly to achieve global leadership in human development, excellence in education and healthcare. We want to be among the best in all fields of education, health sciences, engineering and management at a global level. Our core values of teamwork, execution with passion, human touch, quality, transparency and integrity will surely lead us to success. So Mahe, founded on the ideals, philosophy and vision of Dr. Princpal, is an institution which started with a medical college way back in 1953. After a few more colleges were added, it got the deemed to be university status under Section 3 of the UGC Act 1956 in the year 1993. Mahe has built up its strength steadily since then. It is now recognized as a leading quality academic and education service provider and has significantly contributed to continuously improving the standards and penetration of higher education in India. Keeping in view of its potential and growth curve, the Ministry of Education Government of India notified Mahe as an institution of eminence in October 2020. So Mahe takes pride in its multiple campuses, offering quality education and world-class student experience in India and across the world. In addition to the campus at Manipal, the off-campuses and offshore campuses are located at Bangalore, Jamshedpur, Dubai and Malaysia. So we are currently divided into three faculties: Faculty of Health Sciences, Faculty of Technology, Management and Sciences, Faculty of Liberal Arts, Humanities, Law and Social Sciences. So we are offering quality education and world-class student experience in India and across the world. We have three major faculties with 25 professional higher educational institutions, 14 teaching departments, university teaching departments and over 110 specialized centers. More than 300 diversified programs are being offered across 36 disciplines. We have over 28,000 students who are on the rolls of Mahe along with 3,200 plus faculty members, and many of our constituent units are ranked among the top in the country. So Mahe has established itself as a world-class institution as evident by its ranking. In the international scenario, NRF has ranked Mahe as India's top 6th university and 4 of our constituent colleges are ranked under top 10 in India in their respective discipline. In the THE Impact Ranking 2023, Mahe has been ranked 25th worldwide for quality education and ranked 4th worldwide for gender equality. Mahe is extremely conscious about environmental concerns and has taken effective steps in environmental preservation and sustainability. Resources are managed in a holistic way by implementing the best available technology on campus. Due to these efforts, Mahe has been ranked number 1 in India and ranked number 39 in globally suburban category in UI Green Metric World University Ranking. So Mahe places utmost importance on quality assurance and is committed to continuous quality enhancement. It is reflected in the various standard accreditation obtained by the recognized accrediting bodies such as ISO, National Board of Accreditation, Association for the Accreditation of Human Research Protection Programs, Association of MBAs, Indian Federation of Culinary Associations and others. Our major teaching hospital, Kasturba Hospital Manipal and KMC Hospital Bangalore are NABH accredited. So these are our few alumni leaders. You can just go through the list and the list continues. To just name a few of them, Chef Vikas Khanna is an alumni of Vaksha Manipal, Mr. Satya Nadella, Mr. Rajiv Suri, Mr. Sanjay Goyal and Mr. Deepak Bhavani. So these are all alumni of MIT Manipal. And Dr. Kokar Chai is the president of Malaysia Medical Association, alumni of KMC Manipal. and the list continues. So these are a few of our prominent alumni achievers. Now coming to Mahe Bangalore campus, actually we started in the year 2002 with allied health programs, and then in 2007 we started Manipal Institute of Regenerative Medicine. So after that, in 2019-20 during that time, so we started building this campus. So at that time we took over Srishti institution. So in 2020, Srishti Institute of Art, Design and Technology, so that we started in the year 2020. In 2021, we started Manipal Institute of Technology, Benagaluru, and in the year 2022, we started TFI Management Institution, Bangalore, and Manipal Law School, Bangalore. So apart from this, we also started three university teaching departments: Department of Liberal Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences, Department of Commerce, and Department of Public Policy. So currently we have 8 institutions, 3 university teaching departments. Over the last 2 years we added almost 4,200 plus students, 300 plus faculty are in the campus, and we have hostel facilities for about 2,290 students. So they are inside the campus, so the rest are day scholars. So currently, so all these academic blocks, either which are under construction or completed, 3 of the academic blocks are completed, 3 are under construction. So put together, we have an area of around 13,71,000 odd square feet of academic area, which can house around 15,000 students in the campus. So, and that will happen as per the plan. We are going to achieve this number by 2027-2028. So these are some of the interiors of our academic blocks: classrooms, laboratory, boardrooms, some of the labs. As already mentioned, we have 4 hostel blocks. Out of them, 3 are already completed. The 4th one is under construction. With the completion of all 4 hostel blocks, it can accommodate around 6,000 students in the campus. So these are some of the common facilities: administrative block, then the auditorium, food court and the auditorium. It is going to be operational by this month. Indoor sports complex, almost 2 lakh square feet area, and that is also be operational by the end of this academic year or the calendar year. And the central library and multi-level car parking, which can house at least 1,800 cars, and other service and utility blocks. So altogether, it is around 13 lakh square feet. So these are some of our outdoor sports facilities. We have cricket ground, football ground, 2 basketball courts, tennis court, 2 volleyball courts, 4 cricket practice pitches, and indoor sports complex. So that has a food court. In the ground floor we have food court, and we have a basketball court, 3 badminton courts, 2 squash courts, 3 table tennis courts, gymnasium, billiard tables, rooftop, open tennis court, steam and sauna bath, change room, locker, yoga deck and cricket pitch. These are some of the interiors of the indoor sports complex. So again, this is also to be operational by December 2023. The future of Manipal, Dr. Ranjan Pai. So he is at the forefront of enterprise in education, healthcare and cutting-edge research. As the chairman of Manipal Education and Medical Group and president of Mahe Trust, he has several spectacular successes behind him. Commitment, perseverance, integrity and humility have been the core values of the family that have been internalized by him. The university has adopted them as its own in its march forward. We look up to Dr. Ranjan Pai for his support and guidance in our journey towards excellence. So that's all from my side. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the precious insights. We will now have the keynote address, and I call upon Professor Madhuvira Raghavan, Pro Vice Chancellor, Mahe Benagaluru Campus, and Pro Vice Chancellor for Management, Law, Humanities and Social Sciences for the same.
Good morning. You're able to hear me okay? Great, thanks. Firstly, I take great pleasure in welcoming all of you to Mahe Bangalore and this wonderful auditorium. Thank you for coming. I know it's a Saturday, but you've taken the trouble to come in, and I want to make sure that it's a worthwhile day for all of you. So what I thought I would do is just like you are all leaders, I've also been doing a lot of leadership roles for the last 20 years. And some of the things I want to share with you is really conversational, but I hope we can chat about it during lunchtime, or it's not a lecture. Professors don't need to be told how to lecture. You're one of those as well, but I don't want to do this as a monologue, but certainly I want to have a good conversation with you. So some things are from experience, and some things are lessons well learned, and some things perhaps we'll continue to sort of have a conversation and learn about it. So I thought about addressing principles. And I know your job is exceptionally difficult, far more difficult than mine. The reason being, I have two sons who are now preparing. One of them is preparing to go to Harvard next year, and my younger son is in year 10. And I tend to spend a lot of time with the principals and class teachers, and I know how tough a job it is. So I want to begin first by thanking you and congratulating you for the outstanding work you do with children in your schools. And if I can request my colleagues to join me putting hands together, it's never an easy job, okay? And just half an hour ago, Animesh, my colleague, was telling me, how did you teach this undergrad students? It's driving me insane. And for a minute, I thought about the sort of work that you all have to do with, year 11, year 12 kids. It must be a real hands-full sort of stuff for you. So transforming the school is a very long, but a very, very lonely and a difficult task. The leadership at the top is always lonely. Right? You realize that. We are just us, and there are people who are around you, but 9 out of 10 times the decisions, the buck stops with you, and it is a lonely task, a lonely journey. Some people want change, others don't. Some simply aren't prepared to wait for results to show. Okay. How do you know what to do, when to do, who to listen to, and how to manage critics? I took over as a director of CAPI some 6 years ago. And it was my first job in India after spending 20 years outside. And I took some time to understand the culture of how things work in India, because I never worked before in India, right? So it took me some time, the pace at which I want to do, the level at which I wanted to push. And along the way, I learned that, you cannot do everything at your pace. You've got to make sure that you've got to take people along, you've got to keep your critics really close by. So a lot of things I learned, and I really enjoyed that. And now I have 2 Pro Vice Chancellor roles. I shuttle between Manipal and Bangalore, and I run this entire Bangalore campus with my colleagues, and then I have a great team. And then I also have to look after management, law, humanities and social sciences in Manipal, and also Bangalore. So there's a lot of, it's almost 17, 18 hour days, but it's fun. And why this fun, I'll just talk you through it in a moment. I've broken down my talk into segments. I always like doing it because I don't like to have a long list of slides, but fewer slides, but fewer words actually. This is a little old, but I found this very interesting. There are 26.44 pro students in this country, around 15 lakh schools, a crore teachers, larger than many countries in the world. There are almost 11 lakh government schools, 84,000 government aided schools, and 325,000 private schools. This is an astounding statistic. I mean, if you add Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US, probably they may not have these numbers. Right? It is phenomenal. I mean, this is the sort of landscape we're actually in. And have a look at this. This is a little slightly dated, but I like the, how the infra push is happening. The pupil-teacher ratio. Today Mahe talks about, 10 to 1, 10 students to a faculty, and 17 to 1, and Government of India has some numbers on this. I mean, these are very, very important telling statistics, and some things that worry me also, which I would like to talk to you about and pick your brains on what you think where the school education is actually headed. And some of the things, again, from personal experience for my children who have exposure to two different sorts of schooling education, one in the West and one in India. And they took some time to get adjusted to this as well. So, look at the specific infrastructure. So, drinking water within school premises, girls' toilet. I do a lot of also work with government schools because Tapni Manipal is a small panchayat called Benagaluru. And Mahe, Bangalore also, we're doing a lot of work on adopting government schools, working with schools. And the first thing I normally do is enter the toilet of any school. That's the first thing I do when I go to a hotel. I don't look at my room, I see the toilet. Is the toilet good? Then I will pick the toilet. I went to a school, and I'm very sorry to say this. I walked into a toilet, and I just couldn't even step. It was so bad. And some of the government schools were actually using it. And one of the things we decided was to build a new toilet for the school and bio toilet and all that stuff. So, basic hygiene, these are really basic requirements, but many government schools don't have them. So it does break my heart when I see that. The internet usage has actually gone up substantially, much better now than it was 2 years ago. So there are some good things happening, right? So that's just a little bit of a landscape for you. Segment 2. What are the roles that you play? This is about you, and this is about me, and this is about all of us who are in this room. I sort of found there are a number of roles that principals play. I begin with instructional role, quality of instruction, modeling teaching practices, pedagogy, curriculum, supervising curriculum, quality of teaching resources, what we have, right? Then we have cultural traditions, climate, history that we need to know. Managerial, many of you would have budget responsibilities. You would have stakeholders, you have trustees to whom you report to, you probably have a board, a governing council that you report to, a lot of those things that happen. Human resources, hiring, firing, recruiting teachers, how do you mentor them, how do you deal with stakeholders, administrators, a lot of role that we do. Strategic, in your roles, I'm absolutely sure if you want to think about your vision for the school, how do you reach them? It's just a tough task. External development, what role does the school play in the community? Today we talk about Mahe, Bangalore and all universities, what role do we play in community? So you must also be doing the same, right? So developing capital, public relations, recruiting students, what sort of admission processes you want to have, what sort of students you want to generate, what sort of leadership you want to generate. And these days schools have changed so much because you talk about a very holistic education, right? It's no longer pen, paper, whiteboard, chalk, piece, or whatever it is. It's much has changed since we were students, at least, back in school. Micro-political, mediating internal interests and maximizing resources. It's a tremendous amount of roles that you play these roles regularly. It's not that you play one role and not the others. If you're a teacher, you perhaps play one or two roles. But when you're doing the role of a principal, you're actually wearing multiple hats. And I tend to do that as well in my role too. So I'm a professor 1 minute, I'm a researcher the next minute, I'm talking to my colleagues on addressing some issue, I'm dealing with hostel matters, I'm dealing with budgets, so all kinds of things happen. So these are very different roles that we actually play. But one of the things I've always enjoyed and I love about is communication. I'm absolutely a sucker for good communication. And I felt that many things in life can be sorted out with good communication. So communication in a school is not just the principal making announcements and cascading information downwards, but it must also allow communication. The head needs to open the door to to parents, teachers, students, and other stakeholders to hear what they have to say. Stakeholders need to have the confidence and the trust to come to the principal and be able to voice their opinions without fear of criticism. Something that I personally practice, I have been practicing for many years, is to have a real open, there are advantages, there are disadvantages. When you have a real open door policy, people will just walk in and you may be busy with something, people still want to come and, hey, how's it going, let's have a cup of tea together, which is great, which is actually great. And the first thing I did when Animesh was my colleague at the time, but tapped me, was just to tell faculty, walk in whenever you want, and I'll walk up to your office and have a chat with you to see what else we need to do. You know, it's that real level of trust. Once you build into your faculty colleagues and not teaching staff, believe me, the sort of ideas that come to you is just out of the world, stuff that they want. So I enjoyed it. I do that even now. I mean, I actually have a complete open door policy. Of course, my EA is here, Kavita is here, so she will make appointments. But then people walk in and say, hey, do you have free now? Come, let's have a tea. Let's just talk about what we want to talk about. So I'm very quickly resolve issues. And I don't like a real formal, actually left to me out of in jeans and t-shirt today, but I know all of you are coming, so I would just want to show you my soul collection or whatever. But you know, I tend to think that 90% of the job is done over a cup of coffee. Believe me. And I love that actually. When you take a very formal atmosphere, it's very intimidating. And then the faculty or staff gets into a shell and they don't know how to deal with that. So for me, it's about just, okay, let's deal with it, let's get on, right? So I think that, I'm sure most of you do that as well. Conversations and continuous discussions, right? Conversations have become a dialogue, and dialogue becomes a discussion, and that helps building a common vision for the school. I tell my faculty and staff all the time, it is never a one-man show. Yeah, you're principal, so you're leading the school, and the PBC, I'm leading Mahe Bangalore, but imagine if I didn't have the support of any of my colleagues, or didn't have support of all of your teachers, we could not do the job that we can, right? So conversations have got to become a dialogue, and it's got to become a discussion. Only then there can be a real buy-in on the mission and vision of the school. So my segment 3. My segment 3 is about focus on academic skills. And here I actually felt, what are the sorts of things we want school students to know? I'm sure you do many of these, but some things have bothered me and I'm going to raise with you. Reading, definitely we do. Writing, I'm not sure how much we do in writing, because at the business schools, the top business schools like TAPME, today when students walk in, they come with great memorization. But you ask them to write 4 sentences sometimes, you know, Shakespeare will be turning in his grave, right? Because that's a sort, because we just don't write. Indian schools, Indian education, we just don't promote creative writing. We do not read very much. And we memorize, we vomit in the examination, we are so grade fixated. It's okay to have reasonable grades. But for me, does grade alone drive a student? I'm not so sure about it. I'm not sure about it. You know, so, you know, my son, my older one, who is now trying to handle Harvard next year, I've got a 14-20 in SAT, he's got a straight A's, 9 in IELTS, he's got 5 in his APs, he's got an open offer at Chicago, he's applied to Princeton, but he wants to go to Harvard. And that's okay, you know. And you know, he's a humanities student. His principal discouraged him, saying, you're so great, take science. I said, absolutely not. I will let my son do what he wants to do, right? So, and he's just released his 2nd book, right? 2nd book, he writes poetry, he writes haiku, he writes all kinds of stuff, you know. But that's what I like to see. I love to see people read and write, and you know, when was the last time, I'm sure you do in your schools, at least when I was a student, I couldn't, research ability. I get students at TAPME who don't know the art of research because they've never done it. They just don't know how to write a research piece. They don't know where to begin. They don't know how to cite. They don't know what's a reference. They don't know how to write an introduction, the main body, and a conclusion. They cannot write as clearly as Newton writes. There is a problem, right? Presentation, you know, note-taking. I'm not sure how and students do this in business schools because they tend to take notes, but even that isn't taught in many places. So, debating, I'm sure many of your schools, I looked at Vidyashil, you know, I looked at Aditya, I'm very sure all of your schools will have a lot of debating opportunities. I think that is fantastic. we're doing some of these things that is absolutely marvelous for a student to stand up here and have a topic and debate and make the point. And that also helps them do great research, right? So I felt some of these could be important. Presentation, how do you present clearly? How do you know the rules of presentation? The rule of 40, don't have more than 40 words in a slide. Don't clutter your word with Word documents. Have a lot of infographics. How do you create a really sharp message and narrative that goes to the audience? Right? Great communication, both verbal and written. So I feel that these things could be very important. Critical analysis, of course, for schools, for children. Segment 4, this is little about you, about your own performance pyramid. How would you evaluate the performance pyramid? So I found this very interesting numbers that I thought could be useful to you. One is, it says, the principal should challenge the system, stay for at least 5 years. I mean, really the job is tough, but you must be tough as nails. Right? You want to stay there and hang in there and say, in the next 5 years are critical, I know it is hard, I know the governors are giving me a run for the money and it's tight, but I'm going to stay there, right? Teach everyone, expel less than 3% of students, which means send out students out of school. So the research says that less than 3% of the students should go away, not more. Teach for longer, ages 5 to 18, right? Challenge the staff. 30 to 50% change should happen. If a staff is not performing, you've got to let them go, right? Engage students, keep 95% class. So how actually do we actually do student engagement, right? Challenge the board. This is something I love doing actually. I enjoy challenging the board. Rather the other way around. I think when you challenge the board, and the board is good, like the one that I have with Ranjan and others who are just amazing, amazing people who are absolutely willing to listen to you, half your job is done. And I've been very lucky, I must confess. I've been very lucky to have outstanding board of governors or chairman of the trust here or presidents in other schools where I've worked before, but I've been able to say what I want to say. And when a leader is of that kind, that he or she is willing to listen to you and hear you out completely, okay, I've got my idea put across to you. Now let's decide whether we want to do this. So I tend to practice that as well. So challenging the board is very important. Engage parents. So we do this, and something that I particularly enjoy doing is get parents to campus. And we did this year, where we had a lot of parents across schools to come. Having a conversation with parents is the most pleasurable thing. Can be very painful. I'm sure many of you are parents, and I certainly am one, and most of my colleagues will be parents as well. It can be very demanding. I mean, for example, some parents can say, if your hostel was not ready, why did you open this campus? They have a right to ask the question. And Basavraj or Raghavendra or Sarita or myself, we're not scurrying for cover, but we have to take it head on. We said, this is what we're doing now. This is how we're going to address this issue. So parents are a huge stakeholder, and particularly for undergrad education, right? Who pays? They don't pay, it's the parents pay, right? When they go to an MBA, perhaps they can take a loan and all that stuff. But for the first UG program, we have to pay as parents, right? Engage staff and teach better. Get excellent faculty, capable faculty. That's very important for a school. And I'm sure most of your schools, all of you would have outstanding teachers, very, very heavily qualified and eminently placed to be able to come and teach. Pick 6 building blocks out of this 9 and then take your time. You can't do all 9, but you can take some of those and then you can build it and see how it goes, right? Segment 5. This is all about leadership, and this is something that you will, I'm sure, will relate to it quite well. 5 types of leaders. What are these kinds of leaders? Surgeons, who cut, redirect, focus on test scores. Soldiers, trim and tighten, focusing on the bottom line. Accountants, they invest and grow, but they focus on the top line. Philosophers, debate and discuss, focus on values. And finally, architects, they redesign, transform, focusing on long-term management. There are 5 different kinds of leaders. And this is not just about schools. It actually, if you think about it, it's an organizational leadership. I'm talking even on the level of organization. So, and I'm trying to think about where sometimes we are this and sometimes we are that, sometimes we are, architects, and sometimes we can be surgeons. It's not that you can choose one of those blocks, but certainly there are 5 types. And we probably play these 5 types regularly. And I'm going to show you some very interesting slides and you'll probably enjoy them. So there's something of sustained leadership. Now this is about the school, at your level, at the school level. Leadership of a school is not a short-term project of some quick, impressive interventions before the leader moves on. Follow through shows perseverance, loyalty, and determination. See all projects to ensure the community that he or she is able to make decisions have a long-term impact. So when you're a principal, it's about it's skin in the game. It's a real long-term impact. And awareness of correct mistakes. And this is something I'm not sure, which I actually will confess to you, that when I make a mistake, and I've made mistakes in meetings, I will own up. And absolutely own up. And if I've given a mouthful or given a piece of my mind to somebody, to a faculty or to a staff or whatever, and if I felt maybe I just went a little over the top, I'll probably then call them up and say, listen, know what I meant. Certainly I take some of those things back. The message stays the same. Maybe what I said, I could have said that, right? But I will give you my apology. And I've done public apologies. I've publicly retracted certain decisions that I've done, and people felt, oh Madhu, could you take it back? This is too hard to handle this point. How about we revisit? And I have no problem in taking something back. Normally it's very well thought out, it's very well conceived, but you also need to have a buy-in. So course correction is good, but when you think it's just gone a little out of control, you don't want to do it, maybe there's another time for it, I think we should take it back. There is no problem in a leader saying, I'm sorry about it, I made the mistake, it is on me, I accept it. And that is something that can bring great integrity and great sustainability and great focus and trust with your colleagues who work with you. Relationship. A lot of the times, as leaders, we play the role of a relationship coach. And I told you, it's for us, if journey is really lonely at the top, you have nobody you can confide, right? So confidential matters. You cannot talk to everybody, but everybody can talk to you. But you got to be listening to everyone, right? It happens to you, isn't it? It happens to me all the time. So, listening to problems, both personal and academic, administrative. A lot of people come to you with personal issues. I have many colleagues who come and say, listen, I have a colleague now who's about to get married, right? And she said, sir, I don't want to go, but unfortunately I'm getting married. I said, why unfortunate about it? It's a good thing. People don't get married every day, right? So she said, no, but I don't want to leave the school. I said, okay, so what do you want to do? And I think about it and come back, at this point I'll resign, but maybe, I could convince my husband, absolutely. You want to come back? You see, Manipal is a small town, right? It's not Bangalore. So it's Bangalore, maybe there are more opportunities. But we operate in Manipal and there are, not everybody will get a job, right? Unless you have a PhD, you're applying to Mahe or something, that's different. So people tell you, really tell you because they trust you. And they trust your judgment. They trust your guidance. And that is something we should be very, very proud of. Counseling those who need. I go for counseling as well myself, right? I do this too. I have a leadership coach, I have a therapist, I do all sorts of stuff because I want to be sane as well, right? Nurture there are some people very reluctant to learn. So how do you nurture them? How do you build? How do you give confidence and mentor those people? Guidance and thoughtful advice, strong and firm discipline is called for. This I think you will do much more than what I would do because at the school level I think it's a little bit more discipline. In Western school there's a little bit more flexibility and freedom. Perhaps you may not have that much. School, sense of humor, really important, sense of humor. You can just break the ice. A Seinfeld or a Two and a Half Men or Friends or something from Suits or something from any of those good shows, Fraser, whatever. It just breaks the ice. It just makes it a bit more calm and quiet, and then you have a nice cup of coffee and you're having some cookies and discussing it and have a crack a joke, and the real tough message becomes still good, but there is a sense of humor, right? And that's important. Showing concern that you really care about people. That's something leaders should have. Sense of empathy, right? And tolerant of opinions, and I actually keep people closer to me who disagree with me the most. I love dissenters. I don't like people who say yes to me. I would like them. But I certainly prefer people who question me. Because I have been a better leader when I've had people who have challenged me, who have given me the sweat, absolutely, I keep them much closer to me than people who are, who would say, yeah, this is great, Madhu, you're doing a great job. That's okay, but tell me what I'm not doing right. Tell me what else I can do better. Tell me where I've missed this, And people should have the courage to come to you and say, you messed up, you go clean up. And I will clean up. So dissent is important, disagreement is absolutely necessary, and that's what makes you a better leader. 4 great presidents, right, in this world became amazing leaders. Lyndon Johnson, Roosevelt, all these guys, Abraham Lincoln became great presidents in times of crisis. But I've always wondered, how does adversity affect the growth of leadership? Are leaders born or made? This has been a debate for many years. Leaders are generally born. Somebody say, no, they're not born, they're made. Where does ambition come? And many of us may have great ambition, aspiration, right? Does the leader make the times, or do the times make the leader? These 4 gentlemen had very different problems in their lives. 2 died during office, 2 died outside office. But they had phenomenal crisis on their hands. They dealt it beautifully. So, real leaders are fortune crisis. How? Acknowledge people's fears, then encourage and resolve. So, you may have a teacher who comes to you and says, I've been in the school for 10 years. I'm not sure where I'm headed. Like, do you see a promotion for me? Do you see a career growth for me? Or am I stagnating here? Look, I'm really concerned. And your job as a principal is to hear that out and say, definitely acknowledge. And I tell you what, here are 2 or 3 things we should do with you, with your career, to take it to the next level. I've had many conversations with some colleagues and said, I don't see a future. It's not that you're not a good person, but it's just that at this point, you and alignment isn't happening. Perhaps you look for a position elsewhere. I think we should do that. So, acknowledge, encourage, resolve, but do give people a role and purpose. If you cannot give, tell them why you cannot give. We cannot keep people hanging, right? Emphasize experimentation. This is something I enjoy doing. I love experimenting and failing. I can count my successes and also my failures. And every time something has not worked, I've learned a lot more from that. I don't know if I can give you a research example. When you send out a paper for review, you have reviewers review a paper and you get a revision or you get a rejection. I love the rejection letters. Not that I want more of it. I think all of us have had enough. And I do get rejection sometimes. When I get the rejection from a journal, I actually learn a lot from why the paper got rejected. Of course, it's painful, right? But you also get a revision. So from failing, you tend to learn much better not to repeat that same error or faux pas the next time, right? Tend to energy and emotion. Really good is to have, people say, but why do we have this emotion? I think emotion is important, right? Anger is an emotion, fear is an emotion, happiness is an emotion, sadness is an emotion. That emotion is necessary. It's legit. Otherwise you're not human, right? So I am an emotional person. By nature, I am an emotional guy. But I also appreciate people who have emotions as well. And it can happen that you break down or you get angry, and those are okay. So we tend to them, right? We hear them out, we listen to them. But what is your style? You may have to choose. I can pick mine, you can pick yours. Collaborate, right? Empathetic, team building, talent spotting, coaching oriented. That's a collaborative leadership. Energizer, charismatic, inspiring, connects emotionally, provides meaning. Pilot. This person is a strategic guy, visionary, joy at managing complexity, is open, he or she is open to input, and they're really team oriented. Provider. This person is action oriented, really confident in their own path, loyal to colleagues, and driven to provide for others. There's more. Somebody called a harmonizer. They're very reliable people, highly quality driven, execution focused. They create positive and stable environments, and they really inspire loyalty. Forecaster. This person is learning oriented, deeply knowledgeable, they're visionary, but they're very cautious in decision making. Producer, task focused, results oriented, leading a thinker and loyal to tradition, finally composer, independent, creative, problem-solving, this, etc. Now, it is impossible to pick from one of these types. You know, there are times when we are a combination of all of this. There are times when we are a pure harmonizer. There are times when we are a pure producer. It would be impossible to pick and say, but I do that, but I also do this. Yeah. You know? So this leadership style is something that we should really focus on. What is my style? Who am I as a leader? So that's necessary, right? Let's look at some leadership requirements. This is very important to see what today's leadership talks about around the world, right? See, 81% of the leaders are saying, you know, this is what you should have in a leader. Can I lead through more complexity and ambiguity? Right? Can I lead through influence? Manage on a remote basis. Right? Today, look at this. Leaders are around the world and they're leading multinational organizations. They're not fixed in one location. Can you do it on a remote basis, right? Can you manage the workforce of humans and machines? And learn more quickly. Leadership is also about learning very quickly. Be very agile. And super quick thinking and learning, right? That's necessary. Strategy and uncertainty. I enjoy this because this is what we say. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. And why? Culture will eat strategy for breakfast if you cannot set. And where is the culture set? The tone is set right at the top. If the top isn't good, you won't have a good organization. Right? That's why it's set at the top. Right? So here is organizational complexity in its place. Now this we all of us face. I face it. I'm very sure you face it slightly differently. Perhaps it's the government of Karnataka or the Ministry of Education, but I face a certain complexity. So here is what we have. There's something called imposed complexity, which is the law, the regulation, and the interventions, right? It's not typically manageable. This is imposed. Then there's inherent complexity. It's very specific to the business that you're doing. You jettison that, we're exiting the business. There's a designed complexity, right? Which is from choices about where you operate, what you're selling, and to whom and how you're selling. We are here in Bangalore, Mahe, Bangalore. Now, we may have a complexity, it's a design by choice. We are here. Now, we may be competing with the, other schools that are around, the presidency, whatever, but they are not a real competitors. We are in a different league. We want to operate in a different league. So we may have a choice, right? But how do you deal with it? Unnecessary complexity. Now this is a clear, avoidable complexity. This is misalignment. You know what it is, you can manage it. So I'm very sure in your schools, in your sector, you will have these four kinds of complexity, perhaps even more. Some things are unavoidable. Now today, a regulator tells us you need to get the approval of the program before you launch it. But I can't avoid it. It is complex, it requires huge documentation, there is an element of uncertainty, but I must do it. I have no choice to tell the regulator, I won't do it, right? So they are imposed. But in today's world, what counts? What leadership counts? So there is a foster adaptation, right? We really need to be able to adapt very, very quickly. We must embrace disequilibrium, really depersonalized conflict, which many people cannot do or not able to do. Depersonalize the conflict and have a great courageous conversation. We owe it to people who work with us to have a courageous conversation. Right? Generate leadership, identify talent, look at your next succession planning. Organizations today don't care about succession planning, but it is important. You look at your second round, look at your third round, keep them ready, right? And take care of yourself. Very optimistic, realistic, find your sanctuary, find your thing to do, reach out to your confidant if somebody, more emotional stuff to the workplace, but one thing I've always loved is do not lose yourself. I think Hemingway said this, in a relationship never lose yourself, right? Then there is no relationship in this, in a personal sense. But I like what he said, and it is not to lose yourself in what you do. Your identity, your originality is something you must not compromise. I'm going to complete in just a couple of minutes. The importance of putting your team first, ahead of your personal statistics and recognition, is something a great leader does. Right? Three friends, Satyanarayana, right? Said three very interesting things. Great leaders create clarity. Great leaders generate energy. And they deliver regardless of the circumstances. And there is a I mean, I couldn't disagree with these 3 points that he had put up in his book. And when you get a chance, I'll show you the first page of the book, which you should probably get a copy of it and read if you haven't already done it. So the most important competencies, really high ethical moral standards, goals, objectives, clearly communicates. See, everywhere you see communication will be there. It's very important that you communicate. Communicates often and openly, creates people succeeding and failing together, helps me grow in the next generation, provides safety. And these are great competencies. And they put that in 5 themes. And what are the themes? Ethics and safety, self-organization, organizing, efficient learning, are you nurturing growth? And finally, connection and belonging. So these traits have been organized under 5 very, very specific themes. And this is what I really like actually this book, Words Matter, Find Common Ground with anyone, anywhere, at any time, both personal and professional. It's called Nonviolent Communication. It's an excellent book to read. I really enjoy it. The view adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. Why I say this is this book, which is excellent read, called Hit Refresh. I don't know if you had a chance to read it. If you haven't, pick it up and you will enjoy this book. Okay, so there are some 3 very interesting motivating lessons for me from the book, and I want to share them with you before I wrap up. And they are: persistent hard work, even if for a short time, pays off. Working with others is greater than raw talent alone. And I'm a great subscriber of this, that you got to work with people. You cannot do things. It's not, one-man show or you can do things by yourself. You've got to work with people. And finally, instead of competing with each other, maybe collaborate. So competition is important, but collaboration is even more important to reach your highest potential. You actually reach your highest levels when you tend to collaborate than when you tend to compete. So there are 3 very important lessons. And of course, collaboration, creativity, inclusivity, have a very inclusive environment, which is great for an organization. And finally, this quick practices, displaying deliberate calm and unbounded optimism. How do you make decisions amid uncertainty? How do you demonstrate empathy? And how do you communicate effectively? Some fantastic stuff. And simple things that we actually know, but it's very reassuring to sort of go through this sort of understanding. You as a leader, you shape, you create, you cultivate, you improve, and you will manage. That's what leadership is about. You will shape a vision. You have a great hospitable to education, create a great society here. How do you cultivate leadership? Finding out the next level. How do you improve the instruction? This is very specific to school principals. How do you manage people, data? How do you improve your school? And this is a very challenging task. And I'm finish it right there. So I was given, 30 odd minutes or something by Gaurav, and I didn't want to stand between you and a more exciting keynote or a vote of thanks and probably good lunch. But I hope you sort of enjoyed what I had to share. Some things really personal that I have picked up during my long tenure as a senior leader. And every day you learn. I cannot tell you that I have the answers to every problem. I certainly think that if you acknowledge that you're a good learner and a very good listener, I think the world is a much better place. The minute you start to think that you know everything, you're in the wrong place. You should not be leader. Because leadership is not about you. It's not about me. It's about what you can do for other people. That's what a good leader does. Otherwise, you can be a manager, right? But if you are a leader, you're worrying about everybody else than about you. So thank you very much for your time. I thank you for coming to Mahe, Bangalore. And I hope we have a very fruitful conversation during the day. And I also hope that you get to go around the campus and see the amazing work that the campus is putting up to welcome more students from this year. And I wish you all a very, very good and a sound and safe weekend too. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir, for the engaging session. Let's now all gear up for the highlight of the day. That's the open house discussion, and deliberate on the theme of the conclave, Belong in Shaping Tomorrow's Education. I request Mr. Yadav to take it over from here, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we are running a bit late, but we'll try to, kind of have an insightful and fruitful discussion. So, this topic that we have chosen today, that is belong in shaping tomorrow's education. I just wanted to set the context, and then faculty will take it over for the discussion. We have divided it into 3 sections. One will focus on the liberal arts, another will focus on the design, and then the last one will focus on the management. So they will be posing questions to you, and I will request Rupinder to help us in kind of identifying responses from you. And we can take maybe one response followed by another remark on that, so 2 responses in the interest of time.
ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಾ ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ HDMI ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಲೈವ್ಗೆ
So I wanted to set the context for belong in shaping tomorrow's education as to why we have chosen this topic.
ನಾವು ಕ್ಯಾಮ್ರಾ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡೋಣ
To
ಅಷ್ಟು
set the context, I might have to take an example of a movie, astrology. Why do we need to continuously keep seeing future? Why do we keep, need to keep visualizing the future? I had seen a movie by, I think, Nicolas Cage, probably the movie called Next, wherein he visualizes, the 2 minutes of his following day, the next day, as to what is going to happen with him in those next 2 minutes. And since he visualizes those next 2 minutes, what happens with him, what actually happens with him over the next day, is something different than what he had visualizes the day before. Why it happens? Because we visualize it, therefore we work upon it, and we are in a position to change the future, our own future. We are able to make it better. Probably that's how, Jyotish Shastra or astrology also was conceived by our ancestors. The very ruminative nature of astrology actually prepares us for self-introspection and to find as to where we are going to be in the near future. So this is the context in which we are going to open the forum for a few questions. We have questions. The answers lies within us. We do not want to answer the questions that we are going to ask. Our faculty will take the turn to moderate the session, and they will be posing the questions to you. So we'll request Mr. Rupinder also to help us identify as to where from you can have a response for that question. And you could respond wherever you are seated from there, and we can take one more response at the question. We'll have an additional mic as we will happen. So to begin with, I will request our HOD, Department of Liberal Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences, Dr. Silpa Kanya, to begin with the first section of the session, wherein she will be primarily focusing on liberal arts education. Over to you, Dr. Silpa.
Thank you, sir. Very good morning to all of you here. Warm welcome once again to Mahe Benagaluru campus. I'm sure we've had an interesting session in the morning on leadership styles, and I'm sure most of you are practicing, and there are a lot of things that we are already doing. It's just probably sometimes when we hear, it's about opening up our minds towards introspecting and reflecting what we are doing or what we ought to do or what we might do. Right? So the purpose of this session also is closely trying to make us think, because if you go back, Albert Einstein always believed that the real purpose of education is not accumulating facts, but to make us think. And I'm sure as teachers, our primary task is to ensure our students are thinking enough. We acknowledge that there are quite a few challenges that we face in the world around at micro level, macro level, ranging from global inequalities, climate change, or many more. And we also are aware that there is a greater importance and critical emphasis given on holistic education. Right? So how do we connect the two? How do we build an education environment, learning environment, where our students are empowered to think critically, communicate better, find solutions, work collaboratively? All these are extremely essential. So from that context, we we have a couple of questions here. Try to bring perspectives or think about how liberal arts can open up opportunities or can be infused into holistic education. Right? Can we have the first question? STEM is something that STEM streams is a very popular stream among students. I'm sure data also proves that, and your experiences as educators also proves that. But today we have students opening up more to choosing alternative career opportunities. So instead of looking at both in isolation, we are looking at integration of arts into STEM. Right? So from that point, how can we seamlessly integrate arts into STEM education to foster innovation and balance? So I would request your thoughts.
So my question, the first question is actually I want to ask Anupama ma'am, sharing her thoughts on the first question. So to repeat this question, how can we seamlessly integrate arts into STEM education to foster the audio is not coming.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Rupinder, for that question, and very warm good afternoon to all of you. I have a problem with the question itself because you have put two contrasting things into the question. On one hand, you are talking about seamless integration, and there was also, what we heard was that the careers of arts is an alternate career. So till we do not stop considering these careers as alternate careers, no integration will happen, right? And also, why wasn't the question framed that how do you integrate STEM into arts education? So this undue importance given to STEM is something that all of us have to look into, which is why we as school educators, as administrators, we find it almost impossible to convince our parents that your children will make a decent living even if they don't take up STEM. Because as a school, we are saying STEM, 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 and then like as if we are doing a favor to the arts, we say, okay, let's consider STEAM also. Well, I think it should be STREAM where you are focusing on reading and writing. These are the two basic necessities of anybody to get a decent education. NEP also talks about foundational, numeracy and literacy, which is something that we all have to look into. And it will take a long time to get this change of mindset. And if you want to do it seamlessly, I think there should be importance given to the subjects by the school, by the educators, by the system. That is when a mind change will happen, and parents will be ready to allow their children to take up the so-called alternate career courses, because we are unable to prove to parents that people in the arts are making more money than people in STEM. Recently, I met a hairdresser, I don't want to take his name. He said that for him to give a decent haircut to a star and do the hairdressing, he's charged over 1 lakh. right? So I think all of us have to reconsider what we are doing and considering it as mainstream. If earning money is the criteria, there are a lot of people who make a lot of money too. But like our esteemed VC sir spoke, it's about the happiness that a person gets doing what he or she does, irrespective of whether it is STEM or arts or whatever. So I think the integration happens with the mindset, and we all know that great revolutions have begun with change in mindsets. I hope I addressed your question.
Absolutely. There are instances that we hear in school, at school level probably. Usually when you have to arrange an activity or something and you want to request an hour from a teacher, there is no way you can approach a math or a science teacher. Yeah? And always the language teachers have a grouse saying, every time it is only my hour that is taken away. Right? So somewhere probably that is also creating a sense of impression in the young minds that it is okay. Kannada, English is fine, it is easy, you can manage. But art and craft, yes. And that is why even in higher education we hear quite a few students who take BTech or STEM streams. After 2 years we have students dropping out, after 3 years, 4 years, or they finish engineering or they finish medicine and they would want to come back to arts. So it is in that context, larger context, happiness, very valid point that you raised, ma'am. Thank you so much. Next question.
We can include arts to STEM. Actually, arts is included in STEM itself because they are thinking critically, right? If you want to talk about technology, so it is thinking itself. Critical thinking is there, logical thinking is there, creative thinking is there, and we can include all. In schools, we can teach them through drama or art and craft. Even I am a language teacher actually, so it is included. Science is also included in language, and art and craft is also included in language. We speak about social studies, everything in language. So this art and craft itself is included in STEM actually. So that was my response.
Pedagogical approaches to integration. Thank you so much. Can we move to the next question? In the interest of time. Thank you.
A very cool afternoon because the auditorium is very cool and they are all very happy to be here. I'm Ravi Kiran. Adding to this question, of course, arts have been there in humanity since many years. I'm basically a classical musician. I'm a vocalist as well as a veena artist. What I teach, I'm also a management professor. As a music teacher, I teach every student that art is a science. When we sing, we breathe. That's the exercise. When we put talam, that gives a lot of exercises to the blood circulation. So it's an inclusivity is what even I strongly believe in. So we are going together. So there's no partition as to art or STEM. It should be together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those thoughts, sir. Moving on to the next question. Alright. How can education be reimagined to promote global citizenship and community engagement? We talk about inclusion, we talk about equity, equality. So in that context, and we also talk about global citizenship, cultural acceptance, understanding. So in that context comes this question.
Alright, so my question, I'll just repeat again, is how can education be reimagined to promote global citizenship and community engagement? So my question is to Ms. Pinky Singh.
Thank you so much. There. Thank you so much for this question. How can education be reimagined to promote global citizenship and community engagement? I think in the keynote address, we even heard about the R's like reading, writing and all. So the whole meaning of the R's have changed. There was nothing in the academics or when we talk about education about the relevance and relationship. But in today's time,
this relevance and relationship has a strong meaning. And the whole shift of this transaction of the teaching and learning process has changed. So we cannot have that age-old education system. So the whole the alignment of curriculum with the real learning has to be there, because education doesn't end when the school after class 12. The real education starts after class 12. So beyond the school gates, beyond the textbooks, the real learning has to be there. So we have to foster among our children the ethical leadership. We have to also promote we have to empower our children. Like service learning has to be there. And for that the teachers also have to be equipped, because if our teachers are not trained with this kind of community engagement, we cannot be connected with the community. So it's very important that our teachers have to be also equipped with the right kind of training and right kind of knowledge, because when they are imparting it to the children, it has to be promoted in such a way. So that connection, because community plays a very, very important and pivotal role for the global citizens of the country. So I believe that it's very important, this service learning which I talked about, and critical thinking from problem solving skills can only be possible when we are connected with the community, and that has to be good. That's possible when we empower our children with the empathetic and ethical leadership. That's what I have to say. Thank you so much.
You want to add to it?
Thank you everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you Pinky ma'am for giving an insight. I truly agree to what ma'am said. Global citizenship is all about exposing our children to diverse cultures. Somehow we are blessed to come in an era where technology has made life very easy for us to connect beyond or around us. We were very localized few years ago, but thanks to COVID as well, we are able to connect online very effectively with the students around the globe. In our school, we have children who come from AFS. We have students coming from different parts of the world and staying with us for years together or months together, and that is why children collaborate with them. So understanding the diverse cultures, traditions, help children connect, to know about what's happening around them. And of course, global or community engagements help children to be empathetic, as ma'am already mentioned, compassionate, and to be socially aware. And they also need to have the social responsibility to make sure that they give something to the society, because they learn something from us, from them. So that's all I will add on to. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I think I want Mr. Sanjay also to answer to this particular question, so I would need your insights as well.
So I was kind of wondering when you said how do we integrate art into, excuse my voice, I'm not used to this AC, and a certain lack of hair probably is adding to the, I had a bereavement in the family. So there was a question which said how do we integrate arts into STEM, and I was trying to put that A after E. And I thought that possibly A would bring more steam to the STEM and give it that boost that we really require. And all these questions are kind of connected. And we all know the difference between information, knowledge, wisdom, as we are aware. Liberal arts and this kind of questioning probably brings out those soft skills in us and makes it much more humane, I feel. I mean, Steve Jobs, we keep quoting him. I think once he said that technology itself is not enough. When we marry technology with liberal arts, then it leads on to something that makes the heart sing. Well, we need to make the heart sing, right? We are not just this technology, that technology, this is happening. There's a lot of human emotions involved in the entire aspect. So I don't know what exactly was the question, but he just said that if you can add all this, and I was trying to put all of these together, and our respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Veer Raghavan, and there are so many aspects that he put into it. He talked of the sustainability of leadership. He spoke of the culture eating strategy for breakfast. Couldn't agree more, sir, there. And So this culture that we talk of, this sustainability that we talk of, all of these are so well connected, and it's only liberal arts probably which can do all this for us. So one can go on and on, but anything that we feel, anything that we get to know, anything that leads us to a certain kind of wisdom, probably will happen if all of these are interconnected into something that we very fondly call liberal arts. Thank you.
Thank you. And one more. Yeah, this. Keep this in from Paul to answer.
Cool afternoon is becoming a freezing afternoon.
Yeah.
Could you please off for 5 minutes? Okay. My voice is already gone. So, good afternoon everyone. This is Kirti Maharaj from CEO, New Model Group of Institutions. Global citizenship and community engagement, actually, I'm very fond of the subject because in my life I have been, God has given me a beautiful life where I was an artist, I was an actor, I was a scientist, I was an IT head in Infosys, now I am an educationist. So I would see, the question is reimagine how to promote. So how we can imagine is generally in the lower schools, for the kids, you people will be sending them for the supermarket or any other things. Actually we have to send the higher schools now. The big boys and big girls, now a new community has happened, it's a gaming community. They are not friends in Facebook or Instagram, they are friends in PUBG. They have more friends in the gaming communities. I want the higher students in Bangalore, if I have to say, I want them as a group, they have to visit Shivaji Nagar. As a group, I want them to visit, not the malls, the old Bangalore cities. See, the major thing for global citizenship is people have to talk, which our young teenagers are not doing. If I take my set of students to a hotel, as a very simple example, only 2 are ordering the food. The rest all, they are telling, okay, order anything. You please order whatever you want. Students are getting backed up for their own decision. They don't know what to decide. So for that, I think this we have to actually inculcate in all schools. Okay, I'm little phrasing, don't worry. My voice is like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. So, global citizenship cuts across gender, race, culture, and all socio-economic barriers. So, thanks for those insights, and I'll hand over the mic for the second session. Professor Anish.
Thank you so much, Dr. Silva. Just wanted to add on to this discussion that was happening here is that there is a kind of, sorry I'm using the word, blame game that goes on. The corporates continue to blame the higher education institutions for not providing the skills they require. Though they have those proprietary, kind of systems and processes wherein they don't reveal as to what they actually want to do. They have proper training in departments and institutions equipped to train the new recruits. Likewise, to an extent, higher education institutions keep on, blaming the schools. The schools probably keep on blaming parents, and parents keep on saying that, oh God, we are the only generation wherein we listen to our parents and we listen to our kids. So God says, so be it. So I think we all have to come together and really envision the way we want to save the future of the education. We have come from baby boomers to the so-called Zoomers, Generation G. There is a lot of stuff. I think Nidhi is laughing. So Nidhi is laughing because I keep saying this into some of the sessions. So she is a good friend and she is relating it with our earlier discussions in some of the schools. So she has started laughing at this. So the idea of this particular session here is that we all come together and work on how to save the future of the education. So this was the liberal arts perspective. Thank you, Dr. Silpa, for that. I will request my colleague Mahe, faculty, Srishti Manipal Institute of Arts, Design and Technology, to take over from here. sorry Mahesh, we might have to keep you on hold for a while. There is a bit of, kind of change into the schedule. We had planned, kind of handing over our mementos after vote of thanks and all, but I think ma'am has to leave. Probably they also, has to leave for some other commitments. So we would like to, do the honors for both of them and then continue the session. Okay.
I now take the opportunity to call upon Mrs. Anupama Ramachandra, founder, principal, DPS. She will be speaking on the topic Shaping Tomorrow's Minds Through Inclusive Belongings. Mrs. Ramachandra is an educational administrator with pan-India experience of over 2 decades. With postgraduate degrees both in English literature and education, she is also a Nehru Fulbright awardee with international experience. We have made an attempt to spell out few of her numerous achievements, like Sir said earlier on in the session. Our attention is towards your speech, ma'am.
So, Rupinder, how many minutes do I have? No, I will not take anybody's time. You will have to remind me when I am 5 minutes away, because teachers can speak for the entire day, you know that. Right, so like somebody said, a cool good afternoon is what they said, but I always like to say warm, because so many hot people in one room, I think it should be warm. Isn't it? Yes. So again, a good afternoon to all of you, and my sincere apologies for interfering with the flow of events. I have an extremely hectic day back at school, so if you can see, I'm managing a lot of things sitting here also, so I have requested her to give me time so that I can finish and I can leave. So the topic given to me was is Shaping Tomorrow's Minds Through Inclusive Belonging. Believe me, Rupinder, when you gave me this, it took me nearly half a day to wrap my head around this. That what is it? I mean, it talks about tomorrow's minds and then inclusion and belonging. I said, I think it's a little too much, but then I have made an attempt. Sir was talking about the Gen Z, and so you can imagine which Gen I belong to. When I was at school, and I have 2 sons, both of them work. One of them is a data scientist in the US, and the second one is an HR analyst at Canada. Even when my sons went to school, I don't think there was so much thought on inclusion. Because of the nature of my husband's job, we had to travel cities once in 3 and 4 years. So my elder son, by the time he finished his 12th grade, he had been into 8 schools. But I wonder whether anybody actually thought of trying to include Anurag, who's my elder son, and Anirudh, who's my younger one, into the school. So wherever we went, it was a conscious decision on my part that for 1 year I'll stay at home just to help my sons integrate into their school. And once I got an indication that they're good to go, that was when I looked for a job for myself. So I've had a lot of breaks in my career, no regrets, because I think it all added to my repository of experiences. So I think this inclusion and creating a sense of belonging is fairly a new concept. So I think this topic that they've given me is an attempt to bridge the past and future. So like I said, there are some key words. The first one is, of course, tomorrow's minds. Are we discussing the minds of tomorrow, or are we discussing the students of today? And of course, inclusion and belonging. So just for FYI, this is what is out there. This is how we are all classified. So depending on which year you were born, you can put yourself into whichever gen you want to be in, because that is what they have defined as. But my perspective is, are you put into a particular gen because you were born in a certain year, or can we upgrade ourselves by thinking like another gen? Like probably I may be from the silent gen, I'm not, it's just an example. Can I put myself in with the millennials because I think like them? So that is something for all of us to think about. And right now, all of us who are educators or educational administrators, faculty members, I think we are all handling students from Gen Z. So they say that when were they born? They were all born after 1996, and they graduated high school in the year 2019. So I think most of them would be at Mahe now. And very interesting, the ethnicities, they say that more than 50% of the Gen Z are non-whites. So you can just put this into perspective, that how we have student community from all across the world. And their first job, I remember my dad actually changed my date of birth and he advanced it. And when I asked him that, why did you do this? He said, so that when you get a government job, you will not miss some promotion and some benefits. I still don't understand what he meant. And how did we get government jobs? It was by looking at newspaper ads, somebody told us about it, or with references how we got jobs. Because that was the only way information was disseminated. But the Gen Z, they believe that nearly 54% of them believe that their first job will come through digital and social connections. You can see how active our young ones are on platforms like LinkedIn, and their whole world is there. They come to know about job openings, they want to change their job or whatever. So confidence, they say that 52, but I thought it was more, but it says that 52% of them are confident in their tech skills and soft skills. So confidence obviously is quite high, and of course 100% of them are digital natives. So they were all born, yes, from their mother's womb, but we'll have to think that they were all born out of some gadget or something like that, because they just know how to do it. In our schools, we see children as young as 2.5 years, they come for interaction with us as a part of the admission process. They're very restless, and the only way parents know how to keep them quiet is to give them a gadget. So as soon as it is given, they know the pattern or whatever to open, and they know how to maneuver to YouTube and switch on what they want or play a game. I always ask parents that, is this so compulsive that they are doing this? They always say that, ma'am, no matter how many times we change the pattern, they figure it out. They just see how we move our fingers and they know how to open the phone. So that is the extent to which they are digital natives. All of us, I see many school leaders here and faculty members, we are also handling the next gen. Gen Z is kind of history now. We have the next generation which has already come up. That is the Alpha generation, the little ones who were born, beyond 2010. So these are the ones that we are handling at school, and you can just see the kind of influence they have upon them, because the kind of toys, we grew up with the Goda, the rocking Goda and all. They are growing up with the fidget spinner. If some of you don't know, it's a gadget where they keep spinning it because they don't want to get restless when boring people like us speak in class. So that is what they're growing up. And leadership style, right? When I went on my Fulbright scholarship to the US, I had a cultural shock, because as soon as we enter the class, like our Indian students, they don't get up and greet you. They will get up and greet you maybe if you win their respect. So you cannot go and demand and say, I'm the teacher, or if you will stand up and say, good morning ma'am. No, it's not going to happen. So I value my students post my Fulbright experience, that children in India are so good. We keep telling them you're the worst, but believe me, they're not as bad as we think. They just accept us the way we are. Unconditional love and support to the teachers. I think India stands somewhere at the top of that. So this is the children who are being handled by us. And another keyword that I want to be speaking about is inclusion. Inclusion is again associated with two other words, diversity and equality. Equity also, they say that equity is a step beyond equality. So these are the things that comes with diversity. And of course belonging. A sense of belonging. How do you feel that? How do you develop that in your students? We'll be discussing that. So now, this is a quote that I really love, that home is where you feel loved, appreciated and safe. Does this kind of resonate with some of you here also? So I'm just going to give you 30 seconds. I want you to think of 3 places where you feel one of this, 2 of this, or all of this, and you feel at home. You feel good being there. Just think about 3 places where you feel at home. You're comfortable, and then you can be yourself. You can let your hair down. Which are these 3 places that you can think of? No. So you have these 3 places in mind? Yes. Alright. Now, there are a set of questions that I'm going to be sharing with you. I want you to go through all the questions with the 3 places that you thought of. Okay? So, these are the questions. Right? Just for your benefit. Are you surrounded by the people who accept you the way you are? Can you check that for the places that you thought of? Does this happen? And the next one is it a place where you can grow as a person? You are growing more loving every day, you're growing more patient, you're a better version of yourself every day if you're in this place, right? It need not always be with people, sometimes nature also. Some of them grow when they are with nature. They go mountaineering, they take up adventurous sports. Some of them grow when they are in the gym. Some of them, I'm sorry to mention it here, grow when they are in the toilets also. They say that in that solitude, when nobody is there, they get their brilliant thoughts. So it doesn't matter where you are, but is it a place where you're accepted and you can grow? And is it okay to make mistakes there? So I think you can relate better. You are crossing a river, you make a mistake. Does it matter? Nobody is watching, right? Of course, there are some mistakes which will cost your life. I'm not talking about those. But in general, you were supposed to do this with your right hand, you did it with the left. It's okay, you can always change. So that, next one, are you appreciated for the positive qualities you possess? All of us as human beings are endowed with a lot of good qualities. But unfortunately, we tend to not recognize it in ourselves and also in the people who are around us, especially in our students. We are only pointing what they cannot do. You cannot be on time. You never submit things on time. You cannot sit in one place. When I am speaking, you have to look here and there. So we tend to always recognize the negatives. So if it is a safe place, I think you should be able to recognize your own positives also. Then are you being judged all the time? So do you think if you're in a place that you're being judged, you're at home? Never. So the minute you're judged, that, like I'm speaking now, somebody is, making a face where I'm getting a message that I don't think what you're speaking makes sense. I'm not at home. I'm feeling alien. And of course, the last one is there mutual respect and love for one another. Between people, between you and the object, between you and nature. So only if there's mutual love and respect you feel at home. So did this make sense to all of you, that when we say we feel at home, we are actually checking all these boxes except being judged all the time? So now let us come to the point of discussion for today with that context, that just think that your student, it can be 1 student, 10 students, I don't know, but just think that this is one of your student, and you can put yourself also there. What to do if you feel like you don't belong anywhere? So I told you to think of 3 places. I'm sure you had lots of them and you had to kind of choose. I feel at home here also, I feel at home there also, but yeah, she said 3, so let us select. But just imagine there's a child in your school who has come in from somewhere, and no matter what you think you're doing as a teacher, but the child is not feeling at home because of all the reasons that we discussed in the previous slide. So what do you think is going on in this child's mind? And there is a popular belief that inclusion is if you're able to integrate maximum number of students. Like if we take 100 students, if we are able to integrate 98, we all pat our backs, don't we? But the question is, what about those 2 students who we are not able to integrate for whatever reasons? They may be stubborn, they are refusing to put in any effort, they don't want to open about themselves. Whatever may be the reason, 2 of them are left out. Are we proud about this? Are we taking it in our stride? And are we saying that this is all we can do? We really don't know what to do with the other 2. So just imagine, anybody in your class who is like this. This is actually the wheel of belonging, which is created by Dr. Eric Carter, who has done a lot of research about special needs, and he has worked as a special educator also. You can look him up. This is a wheel of belonging that he has created, which there are a lot of versions to it also. So as you can see here, if you want to feel that you belong to some place, most of this should be happening. Let me take a small example. All of you were invited to Mahe today. So the first one, invited. Did anybody come here without an invite? I don't think so. All of us were specially invited. With a person like Rupinder, she will go any lengths to make you feel so loved that you want to come here. So we were all invited. When we welcomed you when we came here, excessively. There were so many people. Hello ma'am, welcome ma'am. Please ma'am, can I carry your bag for you? Shall we get you a cup of coffee? So I really felt good. Wow, this is a nice place to be. So we were welcomed, known. Do many people know us? Like when I come here, there's nobody who recognizes me. Nobody saying, hey Anupama, how are you? Will I belong to this place? I don't think so. So it's important for people to know us and for us to know other people to belong to a certain place. And are we accepted the way we are? I have been called here for who I am, not because I am special or I'm something different from all of you. Am I accepted the way I am and supported? This again can be thought of in the perspective of an educational institution, that if any student wants to feel belonged to a particular institution, is the child supported, academic needs or any need for that matter. He needs to get his bus pass done, does not know where to go. Is there a counter where he can go and say, can you please help me with this? Where do I get the application? So for everything, support is 360 degrees. And are you cared for? You don't come to school one day. Are there at least 4 people calling up and saying, hey, what happened to you? We really missed you. I mean, your seat was empty, or nobody even kind of felt that you were not there. They didn't care whether you're there or not. So in such a place, can you belong to that place? And befriended. Do people want to become your friends? Or you're there in the school for 3 months and you don't have. There are many parents who walk up to us and say, ma'am, we want to take a transfer, or we want to go to another school. Why? Because my daughter has no friends. So we get very angry and say that, yeah, so why didn't she make friends? If making friends was so easy, the whole world would be her friends. right? It's not easy to make friends. Our wavelength should match. They should, gel with us. There is a girl who came to our school. She said, I'm not able to get into any group. We said, why? She said, because all of them are talking about boys. And I don't like to talk about them, so I don't belong there. So the reason may be something this girl told. Sometimes many of them cannot share that, but they don't feel, they don't belong there. And needed. Needed is, like for example, generally when there is some talking to be done, people will remember me. Yeah, she can talk, because I do it for a living, I better talk. So am I needed somewhere, that somebody is saying that, hey Anupama, can you come and be a part of this? Today we are having a rehearsal at school, we are enacting a dance drama, and a part of it, I have a role there. Why was I given? Not because I'm somebody, it was because they knew that I could sing and dance. Am I needed for the abilities that I have? And ultimately, this is a universal necessity for all of us, that all of us want to feel loved, isn't it? Is there anybody in this room who feels, I can function without love? So what if nobody loves me? I don't think so. All of us need to be loved. So this is a beautiful wheel that all of you can use it on your students. And you can see how many of them are working for the children. Are they feeling wanted in the class? And then you'll know whether they belong or not. Because belonging does not have any way of measuring. It's intangible, right? So moving on, we are only talking about problems, but I believe in giving more time to answers. So how do we actually create the inclusion and belonging? Especially, please keep in mind, we are talking about the young minds, which are very different from us. So the first one is celebrate differences. Sir is had a long stint in the US, he will know. Admission into the universities is sometimes, you get it because of your ethnicity. They want that very different composition of student body, and they will say, oh, you're from India, Asia, I think you should come in. You are from, let's say, Australia, you should come in. So they want that diverse composition because it creates synergy. So you have to accept differences, and not only from ethnicity, the way we look, the languages we speak, our lifestyles, our socio-economic backgrounds. There are so many areas of differences. And the next one is for your students. Many of us boast that we give them a choice, but the critical question is, do you also give them a voice to express their choice? And we don't stop there, that was giving them choice. The next one was, we told, this is the constraint we have in the canteen. It has to be cost effective. These are the ingredients that we can procure. We don't serve non-vegetarian food. So keeping these constraints in mind, can you prepare a menu which we can give to the canteen, and that is the food you will get? Believe me, after this exercise, the footfall in our canteen has increased by nearly 63%. That was because they got their choice and they also got to voice it. So it's very important that for inclusion and for a sense of belongingness, you have to give them that choice and voice. I don't know how many of you are practitioners of perfection, but I firmly believe that perfectionism as a destination is very harmful, especially for inclusion and creating a sense of belonging. If perfectionism or being a perfectionist is a byproduct on our way to excellence, well, I welcome that. But just insisting on, you have to be perfect in maths, you have to be perfect in this, you have to get 97%, I think that is where we start excluding our children, because children come in all shapes, all colors, all capabilities, and just because they are mediocre in academic performance, it doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be a part of the bigger group. So I think perfectionism is something that all of us have to think of. And then of course, all of us have to think from a student's perspective, do we provide a conducive environment where they get to think, who am I as a person? All of them have an identity which they wear around their neck, but it's so important for them to know as a person. I know that sir was talking about different kinds of leadership. There are so many different kinds of people also, patient, persevering, impatient, angry, humorous. So the children need to know, do you provide such an environment? and what do I want to become, how do I get there, and of course being fair to each other is one of the most important ingredient for inclusion. There is a child who has done something. Are you being fair while handling that event, not the person? That child is always doing something or the other. So as soon as that child will walk in, we'll say, oh, not again. So what is it this time? We are not even giving a chance for the child to say what happened. Every time a child is picked up for doing something wrong, it doesn't mean the child is always wrong. Sometimes we also go wrong. So are we being fair and say, you tell me what happened, I will decide whether this was the right thing to do. And you should ask the right questions. Instead of saying, you again, what is it this time? We can always say, good morning, how are you doing? Please sit down and okay, you can tell me what happened now. So please ask the right kind of questions where the child feels safe to openly discuss what has happened. Yes, this everybody knows that just because children are studying in Bangalore, it doesn't mean that we will restrict our discussions, our perspectives, opportunities to Bangalore alone or to India. We should always talk about what we need to make them as global citizens, but of course we should not give up the local flavor. That is what NEP also talks about. And it's so important to retain the local flavor because that is what inclusion is all about. If you allow the people to be the way they are, that itself is inclusion. And do we trust each other and connect? And do we all speak the same language? I'm not talking about English or Kannada. I am talking about, do we all speak the same language of love, trust, communication? Do we all have that in the school? So this is for the school leaders and teachers, that do we all speak the same? You know, when something happened, somebody said, you better not do this because the principal doesn't like it. Is it because the principal doesn't like it, or it is not the right thing to do? You know, we don't encourage children to have long hair. So a teacher who does not want to get into the bad books of the student says, you better not have this haircut because principal ma'am doesn't like it. It's not that. You have to say that in the school this hairstyle is not allowed, so you better have a haircut. So this is what I mean. Do we have the same language? And of course, as teachers, we have to work smarter because the children are already smarter than us. We have to scale up to how smart they are and work accordingly. And of course, we all talk about empowering students, but I feel for inclusion and for creating a sense of belonging, we need to actually allow them to embody these qualities. So you have to give them opportunities to practice what we preach. And moving on, this is a case study. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes. This is what we do at school to practice what I'm talking about. How do we create a sense of belonging? That's going to happen only if there is a sense of ownership. As I was driving, it took me 1 hour 40 minutes to come here from my school. As always, I was just noticing how dirty Bangalore is. But a bungalow right next to a heap of trash is very clean, sparkling. Why? Because we own our houses, we still don't own the city of Bangalore. So it is this lack of a sense of ownership that results to a lack of sense of belonging. If we own, like a student who's here for 3 years should own this campus. This is my campus, I need to keep it clean. When somebody is coming in, they need to have a good impression. Our behavior matters. So in our school, we teach the children, whether you know them or not, as soon as you see somebody, you say, good day ma'am, good day sir, because it matters. So I think a sense of ownership should be there. So these are a few points that I've written. And this I'm not talking only for our branch of Delhi Public School, as a whole. Like today in Delhi Public School, Bangalore East, there is a TEDx event happening completely led by the students. In DPS South, there is an event happening, Mind Matters, completely led by the students. In our school, we are having an inter-school swimming meet completely led by students. So if you trust your students to take over programs, which I saw even here at Mahe, there is no way that they'll not belong here because they feel this is my college, this is my university and I have to give my best so that this does well. And these are the people who are going to be valuable alumnus also. Why I told plan collaboration is, we take collaboration for granted and say we have put all 40 together, they will collaborate. Collaboration does not happen organically. There should be focused efforts. So you have to plan, for this activity I'll put these two together. Like she and she don't get along well, I'll put them two together and see how they'll work together. Keep changing the composition of groups. A new girl came into a school from Mizoram. Her English was not too good, and she did not have things that children from elite backgrounds have. So she was like soft bullied. So what we did was, we thought that we'll have a program in the class saying that a day in my life, where all the students had to say how a typical day in their life is. So this girl spoke about her day, where she gets up at around 5:30 because there is a tanker that comes in front of her house and she has to fill drinking water. So you can imagine what kind of a locality she lives in. Her father is a cab driver, so he has to leave early. Sometimes he comes so late, she doesn't see him at all. And her mother was a housekeeping staff in our own school, and we did not know. So when student heard this, that girl became the most popular because they understood why she was like that. So, you have to think of even that one child who's not integrated in class, and you have to create the sense of belonging where children are there. Children are actually very loving, but because of stereotypical thoughts which are put into head, sometimes they bully their own friends. So we have to create these opportunities for students. Moving on. Yeah, so, this is again, be very conscious that our students know nothing beyond technology. They don't want to be with friends, right? We saw what the 2 years of pandemic did to them. Completely isolated from the world and happily isolated from the world. They just say that, ma'am, after we go home, we don't want to be irritated by our parents. I said, so what do they do to irritate you? They want us to sit and talk with us. So this is the generation we are handling. They like to do a lot of things online. So the question is, I don't know how many of you can recognize this. This is a language that our children speak. They have thousands of friends where it is either on Insta or, I didn't even know there was a platform called Discord till one parent came to complain how children are chatting on Discord. I said, what is Discord? So that is where we are. So it is so important for us to update ourselves on what our children are doing and why are they doing it? Because of convenience, right? So this is the language they speak. Even in English, I'm a teacher of English. When they're asked to write an essay, they'll say it was so funny, LOL. So, somebody, we have a teacher who's slightly older, and she said, what is this LOL? Ma'am, you don't know even that. She said, no, I don't. So, will they respect a teacher who doesn't know LOL? Right? So, we have to educate ourselves, not to please them, but to be at the same wavelength. Because if you want to connect with your Gen Z, you have to be in the same space that they are. And, of course, my last slide is, as teachers, are you ready to scaffold your students' presence in the institution? So when a student comes, do you have a habit of making a profile of the student? Where is this child coming from? What is the educational background? We have many students who are first generation learners, and we are expecting them to speak Shakespearean English. Not possible. So please, profile your students very delicately, very sensitively for your use, not to judge the children. And in fact, if you're educational leaders, you should also profile your own teachers, because we are trying to bring in a common minimum standard that we want amongst teachers. It's so important to know where they come from and what is the scaffolding they need. So, the question all of us have to go back from my talk is, are we all ready to scaffold the needs of our students? So you are a teacher. If you are a teacher, they say that you should have all these qualities. So I think most of it, do you excite your students? Do you energize the class? Do you talk and confer? Do you communicate? So important to keep the communication going on. Can you solve your IT problems? Sirisha is sitting here. She's my colleague. There are so many teachers in our school. All our classrooms are smart classrooms. There are so many teachers, as soon as they step in, they'll call one of the children and say, switch on the smart board. Am I right, Sirisha ma'am? So in 2023, we have teachers who don't know how to switch on their own smart boards. So do you think the Gen Z students are going to respect you? I don't think so. They may say good morning ma'am because they're forced to, but in their head they're thinking from which generation is she, like from Flintstones or maybe dinosaurs or something like that. So rise up, and this is a quote that I really love, that in class we teach and take exams of our students, but life is not like that. Life first gives us the exams and then we are to learn lessons of life. You have to know what your students need every year, sometimes every day, because we are blessed with this diversity that we have in India. I think our effort should be towards preserving this beautiful concept of diversity. Many people outside of India appreciate the diversity we have. It's time that as fellow Indians we also do that. So with that, I hope I have addressed some issues about sense of identity that we have to create for students so that they are included into the scale, how our school, the landscape of our educational system, and whether they feel needed, because a child who has high self-esteem in any educational institution will always have a sense of belonging. So sometimes we are led away with this fancy terms, pedagogy, things like that, but believe me, it is not rocket science. Very simple things you have to do, and that is care for each other. If I'm bothered that he's getting bored and is waiting to speak after me, it is time for me to say goodbye and thank you all very much. Yes, any questions or?
Any questions? We enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you so much. Yes, it gave me a lot of happiness also that I could share the little that I have accumulated over the years. And thank you all once again for your patient hearing.
Thank you, ma'am. I think most of us would relate to what you have discussed today. And may I call upon Professor Veera Raghavan to hand over a few mementos, please. We would like you to come first because you would be leaving soon. So.
Manu.
I would like to have Mrs. Nidhi Tripathi, Head Nalapad Group of Institutions as well, on stage to accept the memento.
Manu, agar itಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಬೇಗ.
I'm saying.
Managing Director, New Balwings International School.
Manu lens ಬರ್ತಿದೆ ಮನು.
I think we can go back to the open house discussion with Shrishti Manipal.
So over to you, Mahe.
Hi, I think everybody will be hungry after the cold freezing. We also keep complaining about it. But I think it's time we do something about this Antarctica weather. I'm Mahesh Bhatt, faculty at Srishti Manipal Institute of Art, Design and Technology. I'm a photographer, and what I do is basically teach ways of seeing, how to see the world. Because we have diverse set of students who are becoming different kinds of designers, and some people get into management as well after that. They do a whole lot of things. That's what I do, basically, ways of seeing in all my classes. And I recently read a quote from in one of my classes that a student put out to me, and which has been a great learning, which is George Bernard Shaw. It says that the reasonable man, I think it should be a person now, but that's a quote. Reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself or themselves. I'm that kind of an unreasonable man. So Madhu keeps getting my emails all the time. Unreasonable. But I think it's yes. So and that's what we do at Srishti also. Produce unreasonable people. So who will change the world? Who will make new worlds? That's our motto and aim in life. With that's kind of becoming a reality now, because we have students across the world, and I keep asking one question when parents ask me, what can the students do? What are the opportunities they have? So my question is to them back is say that, are you talking about which part of the world are you talking about? Where the opportunities are, because I said I have students who are currently from San Francisco to Melbourne, whichever city I go to, they won't allow me to pay for lunch. So which is true, not no exaggeration, because that's what has happened in the last 7 years. I think that's in a way our success that we have seen. So with that in mind, with that short introduction to what we do at SMI, my first question is, we are going to stick about two questions. One is, how can self-expression enhance student well-being? Because one of the reason for asking this question is, when we ask, why did you choose Srishti or SMI now, they say that we have heard that we can be ourselves. We can express ourselves. That's what we do in our classroom, because we want students to raise their voice. That's what we do. So this is my question to, how can self-expression be used as a vehicle towards well-being?
Okay, so I think my question is to City. Did they change the question? So,
yeah.
Can I get the mic, please?
Good afternoon. Well, first of all, I would really like to thank all the speakers who have been speaking ahead before me. some lovely words and some lovely phrases have really come up. And I would like to quote a few of them as I continue with my answer to this question. But also I would like to begin with an example which I recently heard on television a few days back. They were talking about this place Kota in Rajasthan, where each year you find so many students who head towards the numerous institutions which are present there and try to aim to get into different engineering and medical colleges. But in the process, they lose their identity, and each year there are so many examples, like cases where students have committed suicide. Now after committing suicide, of course the parents lose their child, and that's when they start wondering, what is it that we did wrong? Whatever we did, whatever we had, we put them there, but they were not able to succeed, and in the end they killed themselves. This is one answer, like all this leads to this question, self-expression enhance student well-being. Had the student got the chance to express himself, maybe that student would have been alive. That's the real crux behind this entire situation. Today what we are talking about is ultimately well-being of students. What are the different ways that we can help our students? See, learning is all about creation. Learning is never consumption. All these students who are heading towards quota or institutes of those kinds are where students are only made to consume more, which leads to all kinds of indigestions. So if the student had the chance to express himself, then the stress inside would not have been good. The student would have communicated so well, had the chance, student got the chance to do that. The student would have got the chance to analyze himself or herself. What is it that I do want? And where do I go? Can I talk to somebody, someone who can guide me on my way? That is what is very, very important. All of us out there are alone. We may have friends, but at the end of the day, it is my self-thoughts which will lead me to my destiny. So student expression or that self-expression is definitely important for their well-being. And if we are heading or if we are talking about excellence in our field, whether it is the main course way of studying or whether it is the alternative way of studying. See, even if that alternative way is no longer an alternative way, it is the need of the hour today. We need to have all ways of education, whether the traditional or the alternative. Alternative, we should not call it alternative. Like today's session began when we said that, why are we saying that integrating arts into science? It's the same way. I would also not say that it is an alternative way of education. It is definitely different ways to reach that ultimate goal of earning money perhaps at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think my question is to Rekha ma'am as the same question.
Well, my respects to fellow educators present here, and it has been an enlightful and insightful session till now. Well, coming back to Shrishti, it's been quite a long journey of myself as a principal who has been seeing our students willing to participate in art-based courses over the last decade plus journey. And it has definitely been wonderful to see this Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Alpha students learning to integrate art with education. Our curriculum, the Indian curriculum, has definitely evolved over times, and we recently have definitely learned to play more emphasis to students having their self-expressions have a window of opportunities. And with that, I'm definitely very confident that today's generation are able to express themselves much better, and they are able to get a right alignment into what they would like to take up forward. And that's happening, and we are very, very fortunate to see that as educators, that we are able to support them in that journey forward. So yes, our generation, rather the children as they are born, have been very critical in their thinking. They have been able to analyze a lot, and they have been having their expressions well expressed. We have learned to join that journey forward, and definitely we would be able to enhance them to take it forward for their well-being. Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can we go forward?
Yes.
Yes, there is an urbanist called Richard Florida who written a lot on creativity. I don't know if you have read his books, but I would highly recommend. And where he says creativity is a new economic driver, and which he's proven it with a lot of studies. And that is a part of our, especially in our pedagogy, in our learning design, course design. Creativity as the new economic driver is constantly enforced. Not enforced, I mean, what do you call it? It's brought forward. Then there's also, Madhu talked about in a conversation, having conversations, and I remember I made a note as he was speaking. John Thakura, a great design thinker who also influences us a lot, says that design is a conversation with the situation. So it's a most fantastic example of design that I've come across. I mean, a definition saying it's a conversation with the situation. So as you converse more, talk. I mean, conversation is not just talking, but in many forms, and new things emerge. So design itself has changed. And art and design itself has changed the meaning of it over the years. Design itself was making things earlier. Now it is not. It is making new worlds, where we work with various other disciplines. Art, design, liberal arts go hand in hand. Management, because a lot of our students go and do MS in management abroad. That's what we have seen anyway. Now with that, my second question is, what do you think is the aim of higher education? What should it be? Is it just making people so that they can go and get a job and earn money, or building future-ready capabilities in our graduates? That's my
question is to Mithali ma'am. So, should I repeat this one?
I'll repeat this question for myself once again. What's the purpose of higher education in art, design and liberal arts? What is it vital for future? Why is it vital for future ready graduates? So, a warm good afternoon to everyone. Thanks to Mahe for conducting such a beautiful, thought-provoking session today. When this question appeared on the screen, one thought came to my mind, rather, it's a very beautiful memory of my younger daughter, who started her education journey at the age of 2.5 years. 3 years she was in Montessori 1, 2 and 3. And trust me, when I used to ask one question, what did you do beta today in the school? I did culling and drawing. मैंने culling और drawing की. 3 years I heard this question from her. She is now in 12th grade, studying her liberal arts from Bishop Gordon Girls' School, and she is doing actually coloring and drawing. She has chosen painting, and recently I came up with my new house, and she has designed her own house with colors combination. She doesn't have that science mindset, but yes, the way she has come up with the colors combination, the architect of my flat, 3 BHK, it's beautiful. Whosoever come, they praise it. So that's where I'm a successful mother. But being a successful mother in terms of bringing out the skill, the passion of my own child, I have a huge responsibility on my shoulder to look for the passion among our students who have an inclination towards design, art, liberal arts. And to be very honest, it's the responsibility of each and every teacher who takes a class of 35 to 40 minutes of 30 to 35 students to look for, to identify what each and every child wants to do. Because every child will definitely not look for engineering or medical. They also want to do something different, and liberal arts is one of the choice. And my father used to say, Mithali, you are in a very noble profession where you are not dealing with, 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 you are not dea the future generation. You are dealing with the 100% future generation. They are not 100% present generation, but they are 100% future generation. So deal with them so effectively and efficiently that they come out with their scopes and sequences of their own life. They define their own life in such a way that they have a contentment, just like you have a contentment. You tell me that I am born teacher, I will die as a teacher. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My only one thing that I would like to kind of leave a thought behind is, that's a personal thing that I keep as an educator, seeing the world. One question that keeps on going in my mind is, how do we make really high quality education really accessible and universal? There are no easy answers for it, but I think I would like to leave that question. Perhaps we can have more conversation on that. One more book recommendation I would give to think a little further in this is a book called Designs for the Pluriverse by Arturo Escobar. Designs for the Pluriverse, ideas for radical autonomy, interdependence, and making of the world. It has highly influenced me as a. It's a guiding light for me as an educator. I would really suggest as a book suggestion. Thank you. Thanks, Sudha.
Thank you, Mahe. Thank you so much. And really sorry to cut short the number of questions from 3 to 2. Thank you for agreeing to that. A lot of things I can conclude, but I just want to say one thing, Mitali ma'am, you spoke about your daughter. I have met her. What a confident girl she is. And I think when we were there in your school, one of the delegates asked her a question. The question was very, very, kind of seeking a detailed response, but she summed it up with one sentence. I had my bias for Bangalore. I'm not getting into the question what it was, but that's the kind of the response that she gave. So moving on to, I request Professor Almes Bahadur to kind of take on to the next question. Professor Almes is Associate Dean of our TAPI Management Institute. And Professor Almes, we have taken the liberty of cutting down the number of questions from 3 to 2. So thank you for that.
Professor, how much time do we have?
Depends on
because it's lunchtime, I don't want to intervene too much and bore everybody. But I do have to make a confession. You should have seen how self-assured both my colleagues were, whether it was Professor Shilpa and Professor Mahe. They are self-assured, their students are self-assured. We get our confidence through our sartorial traditions, our dresses. We in management education, our confidence was not inside, it's through our dress and all the externalities. We also have this problem that we have students who are not sure of themselves. So unlike Professor Shilpa and Professor Mahesh, and I would also add Professor Prabhu, who may have those students who we jocularly say, we first do engineering and then decide what we want to do in life. But even engineering cohort, they have some hope on their faces. We have a cohort, particularly when it comes to undergraduate, which is confusion on its faces. So, what is the confusion? Well, I did this one, commerce in 11th, 12th. So I expected accounting and management studies to continue. Why are you teaching anthropology and Namadavad now? Second question, well, I have left the biology because biology is perhaps, it's boring. Now why are you teaching me about how man actually evolved as a part of the curriculum of BBA? So for us, this is a double whammy. First of all, the whammy comes from the fact that we have confused people because they feel that they are not in a thing which is highly respected. The second thing is, whatever is the content we feel is important for a heuristic human being, that's not being delivered. And from that comes my first grudge, if I can say, not a question. And I don't have answers. I think the best answers are educators sitting here. So can we go to the first question? The first is, why is a course like BBA, or even let us talk of this IPM model which was created in IIM Indore and now been emulated by many people, the 5-year system. Well, it has proved its worth if you look at it. IIM Indore, if I am not mistaken, if my colleagues can correct me, the placement of the first batch of IPM students had a higher package, got a higher package than the usual students who had come back today, into the BA. But still, why is it that BBA, IPM is always the second rung, or third rung if I can say so, and engineering and others will always be in the top. So I want your insights into it because that may be very helpful for us to understand where our students are coming from and how to deal with them.
My question is to Navigator sir.
Happy afternoon all. First of all, I wish to thank Professor Benagaluru for recognizing all the leaders and making sure and again emphasizing on those leadership qualities and reminding us that in spite of principles we are leaders, and as leaders whatever we do in the colleges or school is really good. Thank you for that, sir. And secondly, I just want to thank the organization for inviting and having such beautiful session. Coming to the question. It's a beautiful question which every commerce faculty will have to be asked. I'm from the commerce and management background with 25 years of experience. The last option who comes to the commerce and management school, the first question they ask is, sir, can I get a seat in BCom? If it is not there, oh, my BCom is not there, then I'll go for BBA. Unfortunately, they don't understand the value for BBA. BBA is that part of life wherein even an engineer will end up as a manager, as a BBA graduate. Even a doctor will end up as a BBA graduate. Even maybe a scientist will end up. Because every now and then we start something as a career, then we end up doing some profession than a business. Ultimately, when we have the business, that is what we do for our living. And BBA is where we get all those insights for business and taking life ahead. There's no engineer who does not have a bank account. There's no scientist who does not have a banking transaction. There's no scientist who will not have a loan for himself. People don't understand this because it is the mindset where parents fill into their minds that BBA is a new subject, so let us not give importance to that. So parents and whoever are there in this race, make sure that BBA is also one of the courses, and the main thing or the reason why it is not taken seriously is, next point is, even students think that, okay, BBA, only theory. If I read at the end of the semester, that's fine. This kind of mindset is where the demand for BBA is probably falling down. The gap can be, we can start teaching the importance of business and management from the school curriculum. Now with the NEP, I'm very happy that these business management or maybe even the entrepreneurship qualities are inclusive in the high school education. Probably this can give a lot of weightage towards the importance of BBA and management studies. This is my view about this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So regarding why courses like BBA and IPM perceived as less desirable and that engineering and healthcare schools change this perception. So as if I was studying in an MBA, that was my last option myself. I was forced to take up MBA since my parents asked me, since we own schools, colleges, we need an administrator who need to learn all this stuff. So you have to go to this school. So when I applied to the school, I came to know that my colleagues, so I was 21 years old when I applied there. I studied in Singapore. My colleagues were 35 plus. They were CEOs, one were veterinary doctors, one were CEOs of some other schools, colleges. So they came to study how to administer the things. So there I came to know that it was very difficult because in India we don't prefer, if as soon as a child is born, we then, or does he become an engineer or a doctor? That is the only two professions we choose. So in how to implement this change in the schools, we have to give case studies to the students. so that they study the case study, they start thinking how to implement it where they gone wrong. Or one more is that events where ma'am has suggested, ask the kid to plan or manage an event so that they know the managing skills are important. Or either to design a startup or anything like that. Or one more thing, or we can do a budget planning, or simple a monthly or yearly budget of their own finances. So that in that way we can incorporate MBA and other things. Thank you.
I have a slightly different perspective. I think over the years I've seen engineering was the top, but over the years people have opted for BBA and other courses. So I think the trend is there because I've seen, I do college counseling, but people, for example, out of 100 students, I think around 30 students tend to lean towards these courses. So trend is changing. But in the middle class level, parents, it's kind of engineering is something which is there in their mind always. So that is what. So we do, as ma'am mentioned here, we do encourage them to do projects, and we have undertaken something called as a young enterprise. So what they do is they plan a product, and the whole right from identifying what the product is, how it is going to be sold, how do they market it, everything is done solely by the students. And this actually helps in inculcating these kind of courses and what they are going to do ahead.
What we have done is, I think, a conscious effort to not only bring alumni who are doing engineering and medicine, but also consciously bringing students who are doing BBA and other programs. I think that for sure we have seen a bit of change in terms of how they work. So very strategically, as part of the Venture Studio initiatives, we have requested students to come in and interact with the students.
With Mr. Gaurav's permission, can I act like a business faculty typically and start selling artworks? Am I allowed?
I don't think I can stop you, sir. You are a business faculty and you will have
I always have that patronage. Okay, fine. My previous boss and current boss also is the same. So I'm not any different from them. Okay. So my request, yeah, sure.
So, as discussed by the other principals and the head authorities here regarding how courses like BBA have been perceived, so rightly stated, it is a perception yet, it is not true. So how schools can change this perception is one thing, by bringing the success stories to the children, because children love stories. So bringing the success stories of people who have opted for these courses and how successful they are in life. Then the second point which we can do is, there are the stakeholders in a school, the leadership, the management committee, then the parents and the students, all of them have to be educated on that, only engineering and medical courses are not there, these are also available. So that kind of reach has to happen in the school level. Most places like in Andhra, if you see Vijayawada, they prefer engineering and medical courses only, as ma'am said, Kota, the incident which happened there. It is a myth that students are forced, and parents are also very much excited to enroll the children into engineering and medical streams, which have to be eradicated completely. So that can happen at a school level when we educate them on this is not the fact, it's a perception, and you can get better job opportunities and you can earn more money. This is the market and it is flourishing. So if we educate everybody, I think we can change this complete perception on an overview of how the management courses are very important. Thank you.
I will not take much of a time because I think you have other things to complete also, right? So just the last question. the question next was that typically there are certain qualities. If you can go to the next question. No, next. Yeah, this was one thing I wanted to understand, because the real answers can come here only, we don't have the answers. The issue is that when the student enters, whichever stream it is, it's obviously it's a transition for the student and for the faculty, everybody, it's a transition. And many times that transition is also the source of conflict. The student does not understand what we are standing for, and we don't understand why the student is not complying. So what can be done at the school level or even by us to adjust to this situation? So may I? Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I'm answering too many questions, being a typical teacher. My personal experience with the management education is I have been working as a principal for the last 6 years at the UG and the PU level. Last 3-4 years, I was working in a college on the Kanakapura Road, which is an exterior part of Bangalore, and a kind of rural area. I had to get the admissions done as a principal. I had to counsel students. There was a boy by name Pramod, literally a village illiterate family, the first gen education or the first gen to the college. He came. He did not have even a single quality of becoming a manager. And I had to counsel him for about almost 40 minutes to take up BBA, because I had to sell my seats as a principal. And I told him, the way he spoke was, let me just make the sentence in Kannada, because he is from a village. Sir, naan il odi yenu uddara madakagakilla sir, naan MMA sode. That means I can't change the world. I'm a person who's from a village. I can just stay as a person who can take care of my cattle. That's what he said. I said, nothing doing, Pramod. You can bring a lot of changes in yourself and be the one who can bring the change. He came to the college for about 15 days. The 16th day he comes with his mom and aunt asking for a TC. Sir, I cannot continue. Please give me the TC. I will go and join some government college, do my BA. I want a graduation, that's all. I don't want to pursue my BBA. Again, I had to convince him. The result today is he completed his degree last August with a 8.3 CGPA. And his confidence has grown up so much that he is also placed in one of the small company though, the Hyundai company, as a marketing executive with a package of 3.2 lakh.